Hi everyone, this is Tisch Aitken, and this is your weekly report. And I'm just going to do a quick check-in because I'm doing videos for next week. We have a lot going on now and in the month of July, and I want to get the videos up for the monthly horoscopes, but I wanted to check in because we had this crazy solar eclipse and it squared Neptune, and that can uncover hidden information and deception. It can bring things to light. It can dissolve things, and heavy energy, very emotional energy. And then over the weekend, the sun squared Neptune on Sunday the 13th. And that can dissolve things, very emotional energy. There are 5 planets in mutable points. So the Sun, Mercury, and the North Node of Fate are all transiting in the mutable air sign of Gemini. And somebody asked what mutability means. I said there was a lot of mutability in the sky, and that means that when signs or planets are transiting in mutable signs, that they can go in different directions. And particularly when it is Gemini season, which it is right now, that is a sign of duality. And definitely things can go in more than one direction. And we had a solar eclipse that was in the mutable air sign of Gemini that occurred at 19 degrees and 47 minutes of the mutable air sign of Gemini, with Mercury retrograde at 20 degrees of Gemini, right conjunct the solar eclipse. And we also have had two outer planets transiting in the mutable water sign of Pisces. Jupiter entered Pisces on May 13th. It'll be there until July 28th. And Neptune has been there on and off since the late winter spring of 2011. And Neptune rules Pisces in modern astrology, and Jupiter, the planet of expansion and abundance, rules Pisces in ancient astrology. But now that is in itself 5 mutable planets, in the sky. The lunar eclipse, the total lunar eclipse that occurred on May 26th was mutable fire, mutable 5 degrees of Sagittarius. So more things got brought to light, uncovered, but a lot of change, a lot of moves. And the good thing is when you have a lot of mutability in the sky, and right now as we do, there are a lot of different choices you can make. It's not fixed where it's stuck. Well, there is some fixed stuff too, but I'll get to that in a minute. But there are a lot of choices. Many people are having to make decisions and choices. And I think of Gemini as the Lover's card, in the sense that sometimes you do have to make a choice or a decision, or there are options and choices. There is more than one option, and that's something to remind yourself. That's the beauty of mutability, that you can have more than one direction to take. But it also can feel ungrounded, and that it can take so many different directions that it is amorphous and not structured and not grounded, and that can be challenging. So there are always, easier and more difficult ways of looking at things. And in eclipse season, it's very pressured. This Mercury retrograde has been very intense because Mercury has been in Gemini in its dignity since May 3rd, but it was out of bounds for the majority of the month of May. And that can make things seem like Mercury's retrograde. And then, of course, Mercury did retrograde at the very end of May on the 29th, and it will be retrograde until June 22nd. And it will remain in Gemini until July 11th. So we have about 3 weeks of it being direct. So that's, in its dignity. And we certainly have had it in Gemini for a long time, telling all sorts of tales and really paying attention of old memories, dreams of people from the past, maybe people that have passed over. Maybe you've run into somebody that you haven't seen in a while. maybe you've thought of somebody or a situation that escaped you or you forgot about for a long time, who knows. But it definitely can drum up the past in a major way. And with eclipses, it's also about releasing. It was a full moon eclipse, a total lunar eclipse, letting go, reaching completion in order to initiate new beginnings. And the irony is that with all of this Gemini energy, I should be able to talk, and I have not been able to talk well in the last few weeks or so, and there could be a lot of reasons for that, but I do feel the Neptunian energy is making it hard to focus, and I've heard other people say that. And again, Mercury is in its dignity, but with the eclipse squaring Neptune, many people have felt tired. I don't know if I felt very drained a few days after the eclipse, and I know other people told me they felt exhausted. Some felt really inspired. I hope I hear that from people. That's awesome, because it can be really beautiful. New opportunities can come in. It can bring in clarity, but we're still in eclipse season. We're not done yet. And, we're in the aftermath of the lessons and the messages that Mercury has provided in all of this, because Mercury was a key player. And the Sun squaring Neptune on Sunday the 13th added to the fact that there are a lot of people that are reconciling the loss we've experienced in the last year, the directionlessness that, we're all reinventing ourselves, but it's scary at times, obviously. There are a lot of things that are uncertain, but at the same time, there's a lot of magic that's available to us, and there are a lot of dreams that people are either restoring and reinventing and reconstructing, or they're working on new dreams and new possibilities, and that is the infinite opportunity of the age of Aquarius. But I feel with the mutable energy going in many different directions, and with the strong Pisces energy, it can feel very confusing, and just go with it. At times, if you need to rest, if you aren't focusing on a project, take a little time out, clear your head, and return to it, because especially now, as brilliant as Mercury can be in Gemini, it can feel really just all over the place. And Venus is out of bounds, which means that Venus is beyond the Sun's path. It exceeds 23 degrees and 27 minutes north or south of the equator, and she's not playing by the rules and is a personal planet, and how we connect with others. So that's at play as well. And let's see, we have Jupiter stationing retrograde in Pisces on June 20th, on the day of the summer solstice. And it's so Neptunian, I neglected to say that the summer solstice is occurring, but that is a big deal, and a time of new beginnings, and a time where we honor what the next few months holds for us. And that occurs at 10:32 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, and that's when the sun is at its peak declination in the sky, and it's the longest day in the northern hemisphere, and it's at its lowest point in the southern hemisphere, and it's the shortest day. It's the beginning of winter, but the sun stops, and we reflect on what the next few months hold in store. And in the summer solstice chart, Jupiter stations retrograde that day at 2 degrees of the mutable water sign of Pisces, and Jupiter will remain in Pisces until July 28th, and then it re-enters the fixed air sign of Aquarius, where it will be until December 29th. Jupiter loves being in Pisces. It's very magical, but I have found in many cases it's expanding the creativity. A lot of people are working on creative projects. I've heard of a lot of amazing things with creativity in the last few weeks in particular, but also for some, it's expanding the emotions. Pisces is a very emotional sign, and it's a water sign. It's very psychic and intuitive, but also highly sensitive and vulnerable. So it expands that as well, and that is okay. It expands for us to heal. And if we need to feel the emotions, we have to actually in order to heal. And the other thing at play is that Saturn squared Uranus in the sky on June 13th at 13 degrees of Aquarius and Taurus. So anybody that has planets between 11 degrees and 15 degrees of the fixed signs will feel this the most. Saturn is structure, karmic lessons, and responsibility. And Uranus is brilliance, chaos, and enlightenment. And they both rule the sign of Aquarius. Saturn rules Capricorn in modern astrology, and it rules Aquarius in ancient astrology. Uranus is the modern ruler. And yet they're in strife and they're in conflict, and they square one another a final time this year on December 24th at 11 degrees of the fixed signs. So anybody, again, between 11 and 13 degrees of the fixed signs is feeling this the most strongly. And this emphasizes the fact that we all, aside from the mutable energy where you have to be adaptable and go with the flow, that's another thing we each have to do right now, because again, we're in a retrograde still. We've got where, things could take different directions, and Saturn scoring Uranus can be very unpredictable. The last time it occurred and the first time this year was on February 17th, and that was the day of the power outage in Texas. This time, so far, we'll see how this plays out this week. There's a lot going on, but we just had an eclipse, so it's hard to discern which is which, but there will be more stories and a lot happening. And in your own lives, are there restrictions? Are you feeling things just blowing up in some way in your life, or really a lot of reveals and revelations? Because in eclipses, again, eclipses can uncover hidden information, particularly in the case of this eclipse squaring Neptune, which is hidden information, secrets, or things that perhaps are buried in the unconscious mind. And having the eclipse bring this to light, Jupiter transiting in Pisces, stationing retrograde, the largest planet of the zodiac, the planet of expansion, faith, and optimism. Tapping into the faith as you embrace the fear and the unpredictability, because Saturn squaring Uranus emphasizes the new age of Aquarius, because we have to structure the chaos. We are definitely in a time of chaos, no matter, can't even say it, see? However, or no matter how you want to look at it. But there are so many things we can structure in this very inventive energy. It's not easy, but there are amazing things that can happen if we come together, and that's the communal tone of the Aquarian age. And I was out a few weeks ago and I came across this bakery called Kaplan's in Philadelphia, and it was built in 1919, and that was right after the influenza, that was right after the World War I, and that was right before Prohibition. A lot of big things going on and a lot of chaos, a lot of people lost and really in a lot of pain, and yet here's this bakery still going strong more than 100 years later. And this bakery started at a time like this, even probably a lot worse than this. So we have to think of the fact that we have to stay strong. We have to keep our faith and our dreams, and we have a lot ahead. Neptune is going to station retrograde on June 25th, so that's around the corner. And the day before that, we're going to have a full moon, in Capricorn. So we're going to have a lot going on to complete this month. A lot of Piscean energy with both Jupiter and Neptune stationing retrograde. And what's magical about this year is that up until now, since I've really been studying astrology intensely, I have never seen Jupiter transit an entire sign and enter a sign for a few months and then return to the previous sign. It will do so next year as well. It will do so while in Pisces, and then it will briefly enter Aries on May 10th for a few months, and then it will re-enter the late degrees of Pisces. This year, we're getting a preview of Jupiter as its magical, creative, and confusing time in Pisces, but also surrendering to the uncertainty and tapping into the magic and just being, because that's part of it, and hard to do with so much going on. But so I wish you all a lot of luck. Again, the Jupiter station is on the solstice, and Mercury will station direct on June 22nd at 16 degrees of the mutable air sign of Gemini. And that is where Mercury was on May 15th when it entered its shadow. So things you've been working on since May 15th, maybe you're getting more momentum with them, whether it's been about a job or a relationship or a home or some direction you're taking, and just keep tapping into manifesting. And I will be back with more, and I wish you a lot of luck. Thank you.